What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man, and yes, I'm back at it again. And I just finished My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 8. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know I say absolutely wonderful, awesome, fantastic, and just overall good and everything. And I say perfection, but I don't say it a lot. I don't say it often, but I say it, but I don't say it often. But I gotta give this episode perfection, man. For me, it was perfect. And reading the manga, because I constantly have to keep saying that because I just want you guys to know, I read the manga to a certain point. But reading the manga and seeing the whole Sun Eater thing take place in the manga, it hit me different watching it live and seeing the action come in, and everything was just bomb, and it was absolutely perfect. I enjoyed every single part. Oh boy, before I start rambling and getting all crazy about it, let's just go ahead and talk about the episode, man. Let's just do it. Okay, so this episode, we start and we pick right up after everything, and we see Tamaki and Mirio in school, and where we first got, where Tamaki first got introduced to Mirio, and because he was a transfer student and everything, so that's how everything happened. Then we see them starting a budding friendship and everything, and we see them, like, throughout the episode, we see flashbacks of them coming up through primary school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. Well, primary is elementary, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, you catch my gist. But we see them growing up through school and like throughout flashbacks throughout this episode. And this episode was a Sun Eater episode. This was Tamaki's redemption, if you will, because like him beating his shyness and everything. That's what this episode was. That was him overcoming everything so he could be there for Mirio, because he could tell that Mirio is going through some stuff, man. And this was Sun Eater's episode, and it was absolutely perfect. There was such greatness, and you could tell by the excitement on my face. It was just that good. And you guys know I like Fat Gum, and eventually you get around to you and just end up overall enjoying Midoriya from time to time. Sometimes he makes stupid mistakes, but then you got Bakugo. Then you got Todoroki. Then you even enjoy Endeavor sometimes, and there's so many characters to like because it's such a wide variety of characters. But you guys know that Night Eye is my favorite character, and I love Fat. But this episode, Sun Eater may have just made my list of all-time favorite characters. I read it in the manga, and seeing it in the manga, like I said, versus watching it in the animation form, hit me completely different. It was different. It was very, very different in the anime form than it was in the manga. Yeah, it was like pretty much set up the same way and everything, but with the voice acting, the score, the animation, the art, I mean, not the same thing, but the colors, I can talk right. It hit me very different, and it was so good. I'm sorry, my feels like something bugging me on my shirt. But anyway, it was so good, and I enjoyed every single moment of it, and I loved it. Now, so then we have this episode, and they started to raid, and then we jump back and we start raiding the Overhaul's palace or whatever. And then, dude, like when they done like a wide shot from like the sky, you see that there's a lot of cops and everything all in, like, getting ready to invade this building. So it was nice to see that too. Like, you understand that how serious this is, because it's not just pro heroes and minor heroes. It's like cops and everything. This is a serious threat. So they start the bomb rush this thing, and like he sent out people to block them off while he tried to make an escape. And so we get in. We have Night Eye using remembering his quirk when he used it on the dude to find the hideout. They find the hideout. They get attacked. The Centipede guy and Bubble Girl. They take the first two attackers out like it's nothing, and it was so cool to see Bubble Girl and throw the bubble across. It was nice. So then they start to go, and then we see the Mimic guy use the drugs, the steroids or whatever, and increase his size and inject himself into the wall. And reading it in the manga and everything, and seeing him take over the building, tell me, for my One Piece fans, did it not feel like Pika? Like when he was climbing through the walls and just changing the whole the whole thing? For me, it felt like he was Pika. But then, like, oh boy. Then we get down an alleyway, well, not an alleyway, but like a hallway, and we see that it's blocked off, and they was like, oh, well, it feels like Overhaul is telling us not to go this way. So they started to go, and Mirio pokes his head through using his powers and everything, and everyone was like, well, what are we going to do? Kirishima and Midoriya wasn't having it. They were the first two people to make a move, and both of them used their one of their spectacular moves to because Midoriya used shoot style and Kirishima used red gauntlet. I think that's what he used, and they used that to bust down the wall. And it was so epic. And Mirio went ahead because with his powers, because at that point that's when Mimic started to change the whole building, and Mirio went ahead because his powers allowed him to break through the walls and go. I mean, not break through, but permeate through the walls and just go ahead of everyone else. And for my manga readers, we know. But so then everyone else starts going on their own, and then they come into this other room. Well, no, they get dropped through the floor, and they end up coming in with the three in contact with the three guys that's teamed up and working together. And this when the whole episode shifted. Like we knew that it was set up to be like a whole Sun Eater episode, but at that moment, that's when the score started to play, and the angles were sitting different, and the flashbacks got a little more intense and everything, and they had a little more of a meaning, if you catch my drift. And that's what I loved. I loved seeing all of this Sun Eater stuff, and it worked for me on so many levels. And that's how you give a character an episode. When you give a character an episode, and that's how you make people fall in love with a character. This episode will make someone fall in love with a character, and it done that for me with Sun Eater. This episode, I liked him as a character as a whole anyway. He was just a nice character. His quirk was cool and everything. But when this episode, when he... You guys just don't understand, man. It was just that good. So he dove off, and they're trying to find out how they're going to combat these guys, because the police and the other well-known heroes, they know all about these guys. They know what their quirks are and everything. So the police couldn't use their guns because this one guy, whatever he sees, he can just take it from them, and it appears in his hand. The other guy can eat whatever because his stomach is like a bottomless pit, and we have to do with the crystals or whatever. And taking all of that into account, the police couldn't use their weapons. So then we have Eraserhead. Yeah, Eraserhead? Yeah, anyway, he erases their quirk. So at that time, it is known, and the police trying to attack everybody, trying to tell the guys to give it up. And at that time, this is where it got very different also, because I don't know if you guys caught it, but at that same time, the big crystal guy was like, "Oh, we have a copycat of Ares' quirk, just on a smaller scale." So that was a nice mention and a nice nod as well. But then we dive right into the heat, man, because at that moment everyone was like, "Well, we gotta Sun Eater, he's having another flashback," and then he steps up. "You guys go ahead. I'll take on all three of them." He's gonna take on all three, and it was so good. It was so good, and I love the way that his quirk works and how they animated it so well. This episode, every part was just absolutely fantastic, man. So he decides to take on all three of them, and Kirishima's not having it. He was like, "Senpai, what are you doing?" And everybody else was like, "Okay." And even Fat was like, "Come on, you guys, let's go." He says he's got it. And the fun thing about it was, because we know Tamaki is a very shy, standoffish, quiet person. Not because he's not a good person, because we find that out in a flashback. He's actually a really fun, loving, energetic guy, and we see him having that with Mirio. But he's just so shy, and he's easily overwhelmed by a whole bunch of people and everything, pressure and everything. And we kind of learned a little bit about his past as well and why he's like that. I mean, they really dive into it, but we know he was like that ever since he was a little kid. So for him to step up and say that, Fat knew exactly what he meant and what it was, and Fat was like, "Okay, he says he has it, let's leave it to him." So they started to leave, and Rock was like, "Well, are you sure?" He's I wasn't going to say anything because he works at your agency, but he was like, and Fat was like, "He's usually such a quiet guy and everything, so for him to come out and say that, he said he's got it. Dude, it was bomb. So then in this whole fight that we're having, it starts going his way. But before they leave, Eraser knocks out the guy with the scarecrow mask thing over his face, because he knows what his powers is, and it's a bad compatibility with Sun Eater. And Sun Eater didn't really grasp that concept until after the fact when the dude woke up and he realized that's why Eraser knocked him out so he could go ahead and finish these guys. But he let his guard down just a teensy-weensy bit, and that was enough for the villains because these guys are intent on killing heroes, and heroes have to just take the villains in. They can't kill them. But that whole fight sequence was absolutely glorious. Him transforming throughout the whole fight sequence, the angles they were hitting, and when he unleashed like the whole catastrophe vibe, like when he I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, when like he started using the hardening shell and like it was something cracking, and then he started going berserk with the octopus tentacles. It was just bomb. It was absolutely fantastic, and huge shout out to Sun Eater for that, man. And the fight was going his way at that and that whole little moment. But when the dude woke up, he started eating his tentacles, and then their whole teamwork vibe started working together because these were three separate guys that Overhaul took and manipulated them to work for him, and they gave them like some new sense of purpose that they were just brainwashed with. And even Sun Eater pointed that out. I mean, these guys are completely bamboozled by Overhaul, and they are willing to do anything for him while he's trying to escape. But that was nothing because Sun Eater came back correct, man. Dude came through and he was like, he ate some of the crystallization from the dude to block out the other guy. He knocked the other dude out, hit him with everything, and at the end, he used all of these guys he used their teamwork against them. And at the end, which was a nice callback to him and Mirio's little discussion, like, you know, because they're friends, and that guy was eating everything. He stopped the moment when Sun Eater tried to push the other guy for him to be eaten. You don't eat your friends. And that's how the episode ended, man. Dude, like I said, this episode was absolutely fantastic. And as a manga reader, to a certain point, I know I say that a lot, but I just want to put that out there because, like, after the show ends, I'm going to pick it back up. But, I mean, after this season is over, I'm going to pick it back up. But watching it anime form compared to reading it in the manga, it was good in the manga. It was very, very great. But I didn't know that they were going to make a whole show about it. I mean, a whole episode about it. And seeing it animated hit different. Like the animation, the voice actor, the score, the art style, the colors, and everything was just on point, man. But that's everything that happened. But like I said from the jump, this was a perfect episode for me. I loved every single moment of it. And now I'm a fan of Sun Eater. This is your boy, The Incredible Man. Don't forget to smash that like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. Peace out.